short meeting. Good morning again. Thank you very much for joining us today at the forum. As usual, we would have a couple of updates and then we'll see what questions you might have and we go from there. Let's see. One issue that has come up several times has to do with the result of the contracts with the unions, which resulted in increased salaries of postdocs and graduate students and so on and so forth. You know that we sent an email out on, I believe it was April 12th. I'll try to put it on here. Let's see if I can bring it up. It should be on your screen here right now. It was on April 12th that I sent it out on behalf of our Executive Associate Vice Chancellor. Hopefully, she might come in. I know she's in a different meeting right now too. So basically, what it is that the heart of the message is that university has made some funds available to take care of some of the increases in salaries. And they have put the information on the web as far as how, what forms to fill out and how the process is. I don't want to go into details of that, but that's the information we have. And I was hoping that maybe when Denise comes in from the previous meeting, if there are questions, she would be the one who would answer them. But
I'm here, Ahmad.
Hello, thank you very much, Denise. I just was introducing the.
I heard you. Thank you.
Okay.
It was a lovely introduction and overview of the communication. Thank you.
Okay, good. So here I turn to you if you want to say anything more, and then more importantly, we want to see if there were questions to answer.
I am happy to answer any questions that you have. I've been collecting all the questions that have come to me via email, particularly in the past week or so, and we'll have an FAQ that we'll post to the website. But if there are any specific questions I can answer today, I'm happy to do so.
Well, I guess the message is very clear, and it just, I know that I have received some messages that, I mean, all of them, they had to do with, they were grateful that the campus is making money available. I haven't heard any questions really. I'm going to take this off. So I don't see any questions. Perry, do you see anything in the chat that?
Yes, summer stipend. I see there's a question about summer. So typically the summer compensation is included with the spring. So if you are requesting central funds during summer 23 or summer 24, you'll include those in the spring. So spring 23 would include summer 23, spring 24 would include summer 24. There is no deadline. The request for the central funds can be submitted anytime before the end of the spring 2024. Before the beginning of the spring 2024 term. So I guess that would be the only deadline in March of 2024. Otherwise, we will review the requests as they come in. Will the funds be distributed over time or in a lump sum? We are not distributing the sums. What will happen is that BIA centrally will process all of the funds, the central funds and the local funds, as a credit to the sponsored project. So we are not adjusting any contracts. We're not adjusting any percentage appointments in UC Path. All of this is going to happen in the background with journal transactions that will be handled centrally. So once you submit your workbook and the funds are approved, there's nothing you need to do. BIA will handle all of that centrally. Will there be a verification process to confirm the request meets the requirement? Yes, the preliminary verification happens in your dean's office through your assistant dean. They will verify the applications and have to certify them before they're submitted centrally. And then centrally, there will be a very brief verification. We're not going to dig down into every account. We're not going to verify if rebudgeting was possible. That preliminary and primary verification will happen in your dean's office. We'll verify that the funds are available in the accounts that you've identified for the local contribution, and that will be the primary component of our verification. You want to work closely with your dean's office in developing and submitting those applications for their review.
And if I understand correctly, the increase started from April 1st of this year. I mean, just beginning of the month. Is that how
Sure.
it is?
Yes.
So for purpose of our proposals,
The mitigation period, for proposals,
we have to be asking for the
Correct.
higher salaries. So, I mean, for
Correct.
new proposals, we have to rely on the sponsors to pay.
correct. Excellent point.
So I don't see anything else coming in.
I don't see any hands raised or any more questions in the chat, but I'll be here for the whole forum. If you come up with other questions, I'm happy to answer them at any time.
Thank you very much. So maybe maybe we can transition to proposal team. Chris, were you going to say something about the start date, April, and all of that, please?
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Ahmad. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. So yes, thank you so much, Denise and Ahmad, for going through a few of the questions that have come up this morning, as well as the overview of the information that Ahmad sent out earlier this month. The one thing that the proposals team would like to make sure that everybody is aware of is that the new salary scales have been posted on the UCOP website. I've just put the link in the chat for everybody to have and save so you can refer to that. As Ahmad mentioned, we want to make sure that those proposals that are being prepared and submitted to the sponsor programs office for our review is incorporating those salary scales and making sure that you get the full amount for the GSRs and the postdocs based on the updates that have been approved.
So Chris, how about just in times for proposals have been submitted earlier or proposals which are pending? Should we do anything about those?
Well, since the sponsors are not going to increase the budget based on the increased salary, they can try to rebudget once the award has been received from other funds within the project, if there's allowability for that. Otherwise, I'm not quite sure if that would be also, since they're in the pipeline, if that would be one that would be possibly considered for retroactive supplement. And I think Denise might be able to respond to that.
Sure. Central funds are available, quote unquote, retroactively beginning spring 23, nothing before that period. If the sponsored project will include covered employees during the mitigation period, which goes from spring 23 to spring 24, central funds can be allocated. Any covered employees that are on the grant or contract payroll after spring 24 will need to be covered from local funds or through rebudgeting. At least that's the guidance for now. The provost has convened a task force to look at this issue as well as a number of issues, so that guidance may change. But for now, the mitigation period only goes from spring of 23 through spring of 24.
Thank you, Denise.
Of course. There is a question there for you. Someone asked if you could kindly walk through an example of how to enter the annual step increases into the budget template.
Chris or Alyssa?
So I can do that. I can share my screen. I'll show you a couple options.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Sure. Okay, can everybody see the Excel sheet here?
Yes.
I can make it a bit bigger. So I've built in a couple ways to do this. I'm just going to, let's say, put in GSR here. Let's have our imaginary GSR here. Right now, you can see that escalation is just based on 3% each year, but that's not, you know, in alignment with these increases. So what you can do is go to here and pick custom. This is one option. And when you do that, you go over here to personal reference and you can put in each year whatever escalations align with the thing. So I can start with a 10% year one, and I can say 14% in the next year, and then 6%, and then 18%, and then 10%. So you can vary this by year, and then when you go back here, all of those increases are built into this one line for the GSR. So that's using the custom right here, and that's one good option to use one line for your GSRs. Another option that some I see on some budgets is using multiple lines. So you can have your GSR one here, and then let's say you're going to have your GSR, you know, 2, and you could say, you know, 68 here. And then in the effort, let's say it's 4 months, you're going to have them at this rate during the project period. So you could say 4/12 times 50% here. And then let's say they're going to be, you know, 6 months at this rate. Then you can do equals 6/12, because that's 6/12 of the year times 50% at this rate. And then you really have your, you know, your 2 rates here that you're using, and you can just use multiple lines as needed. So those are 2 really good options. But this new custom feature here is probably the easiest to use because you can just build in the escalations you want and they can vary.
So Alyssa, one of the questions that came through this morning from Mia is, since NIH does not allow the escalations, how would we do the escalations? Would that be behind the scene?
It could, but NIH will allow you to have different GSRs at different levels. So that might be an option. Like you can say GSR 1 and then GSR 3 and then a GSR 4 if you're using to be named. So you can have, that's one option, to have a variety of GSRs and say these are going to be different levels. And I haven't seen them come back and cut that. What they don't like is having one GSR with these types of escalations. So one option is to have multiple GSRs. Another option is to use, of course, your best estimate starting at year 1. What is it going to cost in that year? Sometimes, you know, these escalations are going to come for NIH, and you can say, what's another cost? I want to allocate this funding just in case I have to rebudget for these actual increases. Perhaps I can put some of those in supplies because I could really use these supplies. They would benefit the project. They're allocable to the project. They're reasonable. However, I know that there's some things I could do in my grant if I need to rebudget some of those funds for actual increases. So that's a possibility. But really, mostly what I see is using multiple GSRs is one option. It's really difficult because NIH doesn't allow escalations.
Thank you, Alyssa. It seems like some more questions. Actually, mostly they are thanking you for the spreadsheet, these spreadsheets that you have put together several years ago, and you keep updating. They are great. You know, we constantly get good reviews regarding the spreadsheets. Thank you, Alyssa. Any other questions regarding the issues we have talked up to this point? Okay.
Well, there's a comment in the chat, and then there's a question. The comment is, for NIH, we should be budgeting at NRSA postdoc level 0 for GSRs. And then the question is, could you also escalate the base salary by 9.3%? I believe that would average the 3% escalations.
So, yes, NIH will cut any compensation to GSRs that's higher than the 0-level postdoc. The difficult thing about that is they include tuition as compensation. So and they include salary at 100%. So it's really important if your GSRs can only work, let's say 50%, to really tell NIH that's 100% better. Because you don't want them to, if you say it's 50% effort, they're going to cut tuition to 50%, they're going to cut benefits to 50% of what you ask. And that's not enough funding for your GSR. So I think letting NIH know it's 100% is really good. Budgeting up to that 0-level postdoc once you add in the GSR fees. So that's really important. And it is a constraint. But yeah, definitely figuring that out. It's around 50. I think it's 53. Is that right, Chris? 740 or something similar to that. It goes up every year. So once you subtract your tuition and fees from that, I think it's reasonable to budget the difference between salary and fringe.
Okay. Thank you again, Alyssa and Chris. Let's see. Since we are talking about proposals and all of these issues related to that, Mario and Francisco, do you want to just make clarification on the transition from CGA to Oracle at the end of the year, how that would affect what we are doing? There's some confusion on that, based on the discussions before.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. There is going to be a blackout period, but it's not associated with submitting proposals. Had nothing to do with that. That blackout period is that during that 5 weeks, Kuali will not be updated with the new awards and the amendments that are coming in, that are being submitted by Office of Research. Office of Research will continue doing their processes. Okay. Now, one thing that was suggested, that if an award is going to be starting in the month of December or the beginning of January, it would be, this is just a recommendation, to have that discussion with the sponsor, to have the award start either before December or after December. Not have it start in December, because during the month of December, there will not be any update to Kuali or Oracle. All those are going to be held and processed in the month of January. So, for example, if Office of Research receives authorization for an award that is associated to a proposal that you submitted in the month of June of 2023, that would be updated in Oracle in the month of January. It will not, there's no way to update it during this month of December. Okay. Now, if a PI wants to submit a proposal during the month of December, there is no problem. He just does it you do it in Cayuse, or the PI does it in Cayuse, and it continues its flow. Any questions?
So Francisco, if I understand correctly, the issue is only related to awards that might start sometime in December. Has nothing to do with anything else. So some of the people from a couple of departments, they had misunderstood, but that's really the clarification. Only awards in December that start in December are affected. Now, question for you. I don't think in all situations we would be able to tell sponsors that no award can start in December. There are going to, I can guarantee that there would be awards that they would start in December.
Correct.
So and obviously we know, since Oracle is not up and CGA is not going to accept anything new, we would not be able to talk about probably advanced accounts. So, I mean, I envision that there are going to be situations that in January, there would be a lot of cost transfers. Do you see any problem there?
And that would be acceptable. Also,
Okay.
if you know that an award is coming in, okay, request to set up an advance account. Okay, like the award will start in December. And the award has a 90-day free award expenditure. Just go ahead and request an advance account for it. So you can actually will be set up and migrated directly to Oracle. Okay. If the award is received in the month of December and it has to start in the month of December, please contact us and we'll work with you to resolve the issue. Okay. Any questions? Yes.
Hi, Francisco. So I have a training grant that has a January through December project periods.
Yeah.
So would it be recommended to set up like the next year account before December, so that way the next year account is basically automatically migrated into Oracle, so that way there's no setup in January? Because as you can imagine, there's probably going to be bugs, there's going to be issues, trying to set things up. So for project periods that have to have separate accounting, like the T32, would it be recommended to set up those accounts before December to have them automatically migrate into Oracle?
That's a very good suggestion, and you should go ahead with that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, because that way it will not be setting it up in Oracle, which you're correct. In the month of January, it's going to be a little bit hectic. Okay, so that way the information is migrated. Okay, and the whole reason of having to have a blackout period is because we need to migrate the information. And migrating the information is a complex process in the case of PPM, because we have to migrate the awards, which are what we commonly known today as funds, and then we have to migrate the expense accounts, which will become projects in Oracle. Okay, so your suggestion is perfect. In the case of an award that is already established, and all you need to do is set up the new accounts. Now, if it's a brand new award and it's already committed, request to set up in advance. So is set up and it will be migrated. Any other questions or clarifications?
There's a question in the chat from Monique.
Okay. Let's see it. Okay. Yes, if the award doesn't have any pre-spending and actually starts in January, we can set up the award and set up the account so they don't start making any charges till the month of January.
Okay. Any other questions regarding the issue? So the bottom line is that proposals would go out as usual. Awards, there might be some restrictions, but case by case for awards that have to start in December, we have to find a way to make them happen. Because I mean, I can envision very easily there would be corporate awards, like example that Monique talked about, this clinical trial from a corporation, and also there would be research agreements from corporations that they might want to start for whatever reason on, let's say, December 15th. And they might want to send money in before the end of the year to commit their calendar fiscal year money. And so we have to deal with that somehow.
Yeah, well, and I'm trying to schedule a meeting with SPO and CGA to discuss how we'll handle those cases. Because I know that at the end of the year, there are requests for invoices that the sponsor wants because it has an impact on their tax declaration, and it has to be paid before December 31st. But we'll communicate that after we have the meeting with SPO and CGA.
Okay. Thank you very much, Francisco. If there is no other questions there, we can continue.
One more question. There is one.
Okay, Francisco, there's a question there.
Okay.
It has to do with access to the AFIS.
Yes, I'm trying to prepare a presentation, and it will be in the next forum because it needs to go to the governance board, because there are certain things about dates and approvals, about things that you should do, okay? Things that you should do, and I want to make this clear. Eliminate overdrafts. Try to correct the overdrafts. Not in clinical trials. Clinical trials are managed very different because the money is budgeted when the department invoices for clinical trials. But for all the other sponsor awards, try to clear out the overdraft. Okay? Please expire accounts. Okay? Because in many cases, the account is left open, and by some reason, a charge comes in. It could be from a recharge center, it could be some shipping that wasn't charged, and then now they realize it and then just put it through, or something in payroll. So if you expire the account, that would eliminate all those last minute corrections. Okay, and as was recommended by the gentleman, open up the accounts ahead of time and have them ready to go, because that will become part of the migration, and you will not be held back because there's some problem or something that has to be fixed first before a CGA can handle your request to set up a new project. Remember, projects become, expenditure account become project in Oracle. So therefore, you're not gonna create the project yourself. The project has to be created by the central office. So you will need to request the creation of that project. Does that answer your question, Linda? One moment, I think there's another question. I'm gonna have to check on the question about Dayfest. Okay? And I'll get back to you. Anything else?
Okay, I guess we will get some more updates next
Yeah.
next forum. So we will keep working together. This is good that we are hearing all of this information, 6-7 months in advance now.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Your time and your patience.
Yeah. Well, I know that just some people here might not know. I mean, Francisco has been working 24 hours a day for the last 2-3 years on Oracle. This transition has been extremely, difficult in some ways and time consuming. Francisco has been working full time on all of this. Thank you, Francisco. I know it's a huge transition and hopefully, an excellent, the result would be really good for the whole campus.
Yeah, it's a big change because it deals with all the systems changing.
Right.
And remember, the major impact that you're going to feel is going to be the change of names. Fund disappears and it becomes an award. Expense account disappears, becomes a project. Okay? And once the system goes live, then there are some other things that can be done to simplify the way you set up things. But we need first to stabilize the system before we start dealing with those. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Francisco. Okay, let's see. Grace from the award side, do you have any update that you want to talk about?
Yes, I do. Good morning, everybody. Okay, this will be very easy to understand and not technical. So 3 points. One is we are at the end of we are at the end of April, which means that we're getting close to June, which is the end of the state fiscal year. So for all the prior approval requests, the no-cost extensions, the carry-forward requests, the changes to rebudget, whatever you want, you need to get those to SPO preferably by mid-May so we can forward that on to the state and they can issue any amendments or prior approvals as necessary. So I'm just saying to check your state awards now so that you're not checking it like the second to last day of June. All right, so that's state awards. Now 2 more things, just internal issues. One is for DocuSigns. The DocuSign name should be my name, Grace Liu. It shouldn't be the PI's name. And the email is awards@ucdavis.edu. So if you get any DocuSign sent to the PI or sent to you as a department administrator, please try to reassign within the system to Grace Liu and then at the awards email account. So that, and then that way we're notified that the award is waiting for our signature. Okay, and also for Cayuse, the department admins, I just want you guys to understand the limitations within the Cayuse system, which is Cayuse can only have 1 department contact listed. So we can't have more than 1 person. All right, so, and also that name, the department contact name, has to be an individual. We can't just put in a generic email because Cayuse is tied to the HR systems at UC Davis, and that HR system requires an employee ID number for that specific admin contact. So I know some of your departments are setting up generic administrative emails, and that's great, but Cayuse can't accommodate that because it's not tied to an employee ID number. All right, so I just want you to know that for those who are requesting that we change the administrative contact information. If you want the primary contact changed to somebody else, that's fine. You can email awards and we can make that change, but only 1 person and it has to be a real person. And that's all the awards updates.
Thank you, Grace. Any questions for Grace? Okay, good. Let's see, Perry, did you want to talk about training?
Yes, I did. Hello, everybody. I'm putting in the chat right now some links to some upcoming trainings that we have. One is tomorrow. It is a research administration workshop titled Submitting NSF Proposals in Research.gov. And it's going to be from 9 to 11 a.m. tomorrow. If you want to join, write SPO training at ucdavis.edu, and we'll send you the Zoom link. That allows us to know who's registered. And we also have a UC Learning Center class coming up. It's the Subawards Lab. That has a prerequisite, which is processing subawards in Cayuse. You can do that class as an e-course. And that training will take place on Thursday, May 4th from 1 to 4. And the idea for the Subawards Lab is to put into practice the information you've learned. There are some questions and quizzes, and then some hands-on activities to really get the subawards info embedded in your brains. So yeah, hopefully you folks who are interested can access those links and sign up. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Perry. Okay, now I guess it's time for any questions you might have regarding anything you heard today or any of our services. This is your time. And I guess everything was very clear. There are no questions coming in. If there's nothing else, we are going to be able to stop pretty soon. Any updates from any of the other departments within Office of Research? No, I don't see anybody wanting to say anything. John, you don't have anything from IRB, huh?
No, sir. We're quiet.
You guys are doing a great job. That's why. Thank you very much. Okay, so if there's nothing else, we can stop. Thank you very much and see you next month.